Number 10. Harley Quinn animated series. Sure, this version of the Joker is quite hilarious, as this is a mature comedic animated show, but that doesn't mean that he isn't dark. He is still, after all, the Joker. This version of the Joker actually succeeds in taking over Gotham City at the end of season 1, trapping the Justice League, defeating Batman, torturing Harley's crew, and defeating even the other members of the Legion of Doom. The guy even kills Scarecrow for unmasking Batman in front of him by making his head explode with acid. It's true, it happened. He is violent, successful, and still quite dark. He also makes his entrance in season 1, episode 1 by wearing the captain of a yacht's face, ripping it off like a mask to reveal his own. Ugh. Number 9. Emperor Joker. When you give Joker 99.99% of Mr. Mixie-Piz-Yiddle's reality warping powers, you can expect things to get weirdly dark. So it shouldn't come as a surprise that Emperor Joker was born in the comics and that he did all kinds of twisted, dark things. One of the worst things though for me was he set almost everyone in a horrible time loop where they were usually trapped in some way or being tortured, or being trapped and tortured. The worst of combos. Or I guess in Joker's case, the best of combos? Number 8. Joker film. The Joker film may exist in its own bubble, but that bubble was a pretty dark and bleak one. Arthur Fleck is played by Joaquin Phoenix in the film, and the film is based off of the Killing Joke origins for the villain. The idea that one bad day is all it takes to turn someone insane or change someone's life dramatically. In the case of the 2019 Joker film, that one bad day is actually kind of more of a snowball effect. Arthur Fleck is a failed comedian who is mentally ill, and when cut off from his medication, quickly becomes overwhelmed by all the negative aspects of his life and shocking revelations. In the end, he ends up killing his favorite show host on national television, similar to a moment in the Dark Knight Returns animated story, and confirming Arthur Fleck's full transformation into the Joker, becoming a killer, a villain, and inspiring riots in Gotham. Number 7. Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight. Heath Ledger had one of the most ruled by chaos versions of the Joker. This was a grittier, darker interpretation of the character that was so powerful it actually influenced Joker's appearance and senseless love of violence in the comics, radiating outwards. Ledger and Christopher Nolan's interpretation of the character was actually a perfect marriage of the silly chaos that is the Joker, but cut with a grotesque sense of recklessness that made this interpretation so dangerous. It remains a great homage to the classic Joker while also being a deadly modern spin on the character. Number 6. Vampire Joker. The Joker of Earth 43 ends up appearing to die, and in so turns Batman evil, causing him to give into his bloodlust and cementing his transformation into a full-fledged monster and vampire. Batman himself had already been changed into a vampire when he and the Joker came to final blows. Batman though remained immune to most vampire weaknesses as he still maintained a pure heart, having never fed off of a human. Joker killing Batman's companion, werecat Selina Kyle, however, threw Batman into a rage, causing him to give into his vampire instincts. He killed Joker and fed off of him, giving into the darkness within himself, and this meant that in death, Joker had actually won. And although Batman attempted to dispose of Joker's body in such a way that, he'd never return as a vampire, somehow Joker managed to survive and did return as a vampire himself during Convergence.
Number 5. Nosferatu. In the cyberpunk/expressionistic future of the super creepy Batman Nosferatu, the Joker is responsible for the creation of Batman and not the other way around. This version of the Joker is called the Laughing Man, and he is an utterly terrifying skeleton-looking cyborg assassin created by Jeremiah Arkham to tell the future. The look of the comics are in general inspired from early German Impressionist cinema, including movies such as Nosferatu and The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. And both the Laughing Man and the Batman he ultimately faces really lean full force into those absolutely terrifying styles. The Laughing Man has a knack for telling people when they are going to die and then de-lifing them to make sure that his predictions are true, which is kind of a backwards way of doing that. And they aren't gentle slayings either, as we see him kill this universe's Dick Grayson by completely severing his head from his spine and just having a great time doing it too, which is terrifying. It's quite terrifying, but if Batman and Nosferatu are your thing, you're welcome, I guess. Number 4. Dark Judge. A crossover between DC Comics and 2000 AD, the creators of Judge Dredd, led to the creation of Dark Judge Joker. a character who lets us know what it would be like if the Joker and Judge Dredd had a baby. The answer is that it would be absolutely terrifying. As a dark judge, he gained large glam rock style armor, and his hair went white with a red streak to make him appropriately very cool. Joker is one of the two main antagonists in Die Laughing. The Joker finds a way to transport to Judge Dredd's Mega City 1, and he unleashes a quartet of dark judges. And he even gains some immortality, becomes a new dark judge, and gains some deadly new powers. Judge Anderson, a telepathic ally of the Judge Dredd, teleports to Batman for help and to learn about the Joker. Batman then travels back with her to Mega City 1 to foil the Joker's plans. But the Joker just gets bored of Mega City 1 and decides to return to Gotham City, losing his powers and being sent back to Arkham Asylum. He basically just kind of gave up. Number 3. Batman Beyond. In the distant future where Bruce Wayne is retired and training the new Batman, Terry McGinnis, we see a remnant of the Rogues and a new generation of the Justice League. Among the remnants of the Rogues of Batman is the Jokers, the seemingly only remains of the Joker and his ideals. Now, to everyone's surprise, the Joker makes his appearance and starts wreaking havoc in Gotham once again after decades of being presumed dead. It is later revealed that the Joker is actually Tim Drake, who was treated so badly he became the new Joker. Number 2. White Knight. While this isn't technically labeled as a future story, the alternate universe comic Batman White Knight seems to be set at a point where Batman just kinda loses his patience with Joker, which I feel like would take a long time, so future, yeah. As Batman gets frustrated by the Joker and force feeds him a handful of random pills, it somehow cures Joker of his mental illnesses. Suddenly sane, Jack Napier, who was the Joker, goes on to sue Gotham City Police Department for his treatment when he was the Joker. He goes on to full-on fight the corruption of the GCPD and Batman's vigilantism. Maybe in some not so great ways, but he is a legitimately reformed Joker who is trying to do the right thing, and he even goes up against a Harley Quinn who becomes the Neo-Joker, obsessed with the goal of bringing the Joker back into existence, whatever that may take. And number 1, Dark Knight Returns. In the alternate future of The Dark Knight Returns from 1986, the Joker has been in a catatonic state ever since Batman's retirement, but once the news breaks of the Dark Knight's return, he miraculously regains consciousness. He manipulates his psychiatrist into declaring him cured, he hires a publicist to book him on a late night talk show, and then on the show, he Joker toxins the whole crowd, which I believe was the inspiration for the talk show scene in the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie. He then goes off on a spree of crime and de-lifings, drawing Batman out into the open. Batman pursues him into the Tunnel of Love at a carnival where he fractures the Joker's neck in a fit of rage, but cannot still bring himself to completely take down his enemy. The Joker does the deed for him though by twisting his fractured neck until it breaks completely, thus framing Batman as his killer. His body is soon found by the police before it bursts into flame, Batman having rigged the corpse to create a distraction. This is one of the best Batman stories, which automatically kinda calls for the best Joker.
Number 10 on our list, the Red Hood from Batman the Brave and the Bold. In the episode Deep Cover for Batman, this version of the Joker exists on Earth 23 and sports, well, a red hood. Although his face is mostly obscured, we do catch a glimpse of a few features that can basically confirm that the Joker is under the hood. His trademark grin, pale skin, and a bit of green hair show that this Joker is actually supporting Batman in the fight against evil. After fighting off some bad guys, Red Hood Joker actually thanks Batman and hopes he can return the favor. Sure enough, in the very next episode, Game Over for Owlman, they team up and defeat Owlman, who had previously impersonated Batman and ruined his reputation. This instance with the Red Hood proves that if Batman and the Joker could find a common enemy, they might be able to keep fighting crime together and maybe even bring the Joker out of his insanity. But we all know that this isn't always the case with the Joker, just in this list. Okay, 9th on our list goes to John Doe Joker from Batman the Telltale series. In this storyline, Batman is actually committed to Arkham Asylum after being drugged and influenced to attack Oswald Cobblepot. There, he runs into a couple pretty bad prison inmates who you can bet were imprisoned by Batman himself. So who saves him from this encounter? A sympathetic, insecure version of Joker known as John Doe. What's cool about this Joker is that since he's appearing in a Telltale series, you get to control if this version of the Joker stays good or not. As we all know, most interpretations of the Joker show an outcast who feels slighted or abandoned in some way by society. So in this storyline, this Joker, although initially good, can go dark real fast if you choose to treat him poorly. If you choose to treat him like a friend and trust him throughout the game, he'll eventually help to take down the agency, putting his life on the line in the process. But if you choose to treat him like a tool to get what you need, he will pick up on it and start to adopt homicidal tendencies. Man, this dude is sensitive. 8th on our list is from a Batman Captain America crossover, where this version of the Joker teams up with Red Skull. I know, not very heroic yet, but just wait. In a page that has become something of a meme in comic book culture, the Joker is shown learning that Red Skull is actually, in fact, a Nazi. And when Red Skull tries to equate Nazism to Joker's own evil ways, the Joker actually says, "I may be a criminal lunatic, but I'm an American criminal lunatic." He then sprays Red Skull with some kind of green poof in an attempt to kill him. Later in the comic, the Joker actively seeks out to kill Red Skull, stating that he's actually planning on helping Batman put him in a cell for the rest of his life. So yeah, although this heroic version of Joker isn't necessarily an alternate version of the supervillain, he is an iteration of the Joker that draws a line in the sand on his own limits to what is too evil, even for the crazed clown prince himself. Okay, 7th on our list goes to the Joker's Wild Jokers. Yes, that's plural. For those of you who aren't already familiar with Tangent Comics' Joker's Wild, this storyline features a modern version of reporter Lori Lamaris, who fights crime with her 2 other Joker teammates, student Mary Marvel and entrepreneur Christy Xanadu. These 3 Jokers are up against a big foe in this storyline on Earth 9, facing off against an evil tyrant Superman. So yes, these versions of the Joker are actively seeking out evil and fighting against it. Although it doesn't turn out so well when the tyrant Superman ends up torturing and eventually killing Mary. Christie's whereabouts remain unknown and Lori's in prison for 10 years. When she gets out, she decides not to take up the Joker costume again and instead continues under the identity of Manhunter. But for that brief period, the world was introduced to one of the most unique, heroic alternate versions of Joker on our list, and we're better off for it. At number 6, we go to Earth 3. First appearing in countdown number 32, Jackie, a struggling stand-up comedian, eventually assumes the title of the Jokester and becomes known as something of a hero to Gotham. Much like other versions of Joker, Jackie has been bullied his whole life and is getting sick of it. So when Jackie witnesses Owlman kill the owner of the Last Laugh comedy club, he decides enough is enough. With Harley Quinn as his manager, he changes his act to focus on ridiculing Owlman. By doing this, he becomes a kind of hero to Gotham, which had also become kind of tired of Owlman's tyranny. But only when Harley Quinn is killed and Jackie's mouth is sliced open in the classic Joker way, he assumes the identity of the Jokester. Jackie, aka the Jokester, although having lost all of his sanity, still dedicates his life to ridiculing and humiliating Owlman. Owlman is a pretty brutish vigilante assuming a role on Earth 3 as a supervillain, so the Jokester's efforts are absolutely known as being heroic. And that's why he belongs on our list.
In at number 5, Under the Red Hood.
Sure. Anything else?
I'll need some guys. Not these guys, because, well, they're kind of dead.
John DiMaggio voicing the Joker in this Batman animated movie was incredible. I mean, I almost used the word phenomenal. You know what? Let's go with phenomenal. It was phenomenal. He kept such a close resemblance of what Mark Hamill did with the character previously, but definitely added his own take. Then with the dark and gritty animation synced up, his voice finds a perfect spot. This version of the Joker, specifically for those of you keeping track at home, is from the film Batman Under the Red Hood. Critics praised the film's direction, animation, and emotional weight of the story, and James Harvey from The World's Finest even called it a mature and faithful take on the Batman lore. In at number 4, Arkham Origins. When Troy Baker was set to voice the Joker in the video game Batman Arkham Origins, many people had their doubts because before him was the great, well, Mark Hamill. Although those doubts were promptly shattered upon this moment at the New York Comic Con in 2013.
Madness is the emergency exit.
The events in Arkham Origins take place about 5 years before the game Batman Arkham Asylum. Batman is an experienced crime fighter in the second year of his career, but is not yet the veteran superhero that we know him as. The game would explore Batman's first confrontation with the Joker, which is why Troy used some of Mark Hamill's influence. It's a great voice for the Joker and should be the staple in regards to that, and I mean, like, you can literally make anything sound cool. Just listen to Troy Baker make anything sound cool.
This fruitcake is fantastic! Anyone wants a piece?
In at number 3, Emperor Joker. This 9-issue crossover known as Superman Emperor Joker truly showed fans what kind of destruction the Joker would be capable of if given godlike powers. In this bizarre world, the heroes and villains had swapped roles, but regardless of how the public viewed them, the Joker was still really twisted. He would do insane things like kill and resurrect Batman on a daily basis, and after stealing these reality-altering powers, he ate the entire country of China. Perhaps the worst part was that he did it just so that he could make a joke about Chinese food. A country that's home to more than 1 billion people became a lunchtime snack for this maniac. His resume of destruction aside, the visual differences of this Joker made it a must-have on this list. Emperor Joker was a form the Joker took after tricking Mr. Mxyzptlk into donating nearly 100% of his reality powers to him. As a direct result, he became near omnipotent and created a hellish world in his own image. In at number 2, The Dark Knight. Don't get me wrong, The Dark Knight is one of my favorite movies of all time, but Heath Ledger's Joker comes in with a silver medal on this cool list. He's still the number 2 though, so let's just focus on the positives.
Then why do you want to kill me? I don't want to kill you. What would I do without you? Go back to ripping off mob dealers?
Portraying a psychopathic, mass-murdering, schizophrenic clown with zero empathy, Heath's version of the Joker displayed both mental combat and strategic planning. His physique was defined by his clown makeup and gruesome smirk that added a twist of comedy to all of his crimes and destruction. The Joker was the only major antagonist in the trilogy who wasn't linked to the League of Shadows. Although his actions were indirectly responsible for Bane successfully engineering a revolution in Gotham in The Dark Knight Rises, Heath Ledger's iconic Joker raised the bar to another level and left some big psycho clown shoes to fill for future Jokers. Last but certainly not least, in our number 1 spot, DC Animated Universe. Come on, you had to see this one coming. Of course, Mark Hamill is the number 1 coolest Joker of all time, and I still consider him to be different from the original. In retrospect, many of the Jokers portrayed before Mark pale in comparison, and since voicing the character, he has really set the benchmark of expectations. Mark was one of the first people to design separate types of laughs for the Joker to have. Everything from maniacal planning to uproarious joy. What makes this Joker so much cooler than the original is that the animated show had to find a way around using extreme violence, something that the Joker absolutely loves. Instead, they focused on building up his psychotic monologues and overall frightening demeanor, making him and his laughing gas scarier than death itself. People like to overlook this animated series, but if anything, writers should be using it as a building block for cooler Joker characters.
Number 10, Two Faces. In the comic Batman Two Faces, we follow Batman who is trying to cure Harvey Dent's dual personality disorder. While working on a potion that will do so and testing it on himself, Wayne is also contacted by Commissioner Gordon, who seeks his help in solving a serial murder case. It appears a bunch of young women have turned up murdered with their faces mutilated, an obvious nod in the comics to famed serial killer Jack the Ripper. The villain is known as the Joker, who also attacks Selena Kyle, the madam of a brothel in this story. The fight leaves Selena paralyzed as Batman arrives too late to save her. In the end, it is revealed that Bruce Wayne was the Joker the entire time, as the potion caused him to develop a second personality. He ends up killing himself after confessing all this to Two-Face and Commissioner Gordon. Two-Face drinks the potion and is miraculously cured, even though we've already established that the potion was the cause of a dual personality for Batman. Jekyll, 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 Hyde, Jekyll, Hyde. Number 9, Gotham by Gaslight. The Joker's character isn't fully fleshed out in the comic Gotham by Gaslight, but regardless, we do get painted a pretty terrifying picture of the villain. The comic is set in turn-of-the-century Gotham City, which appears to take after historic turn-of-the-century London, set in 1889. Bruce Wayne arrives back in Gotham after a tour of Europe. Commissioner Gordon wastes no time in updating Wayne on the development and expansion of Gotham and its crime rate. He gives Wayne an example of the deranged criminals who run rampant in the city by sharing the story of a criminal who married women and then poisoned them to death. He had killed 10 women before he was caught. While poisoning may sound like a kinder way to murder someone, the man in question used strychnine poison, which is anything but pleasant as it affects your nervous system, causing intensely painful and involuntary muscle spasms, and it takes up to 2 hours to die from it. When he was caught, the man tried to kill himself with the poison but failed. Instead, the man's face was left paralyzed by the poison, stuck in a permanent and horrifying grin. Number 8. Joaquin Phoenix. Phoenix's version of the Joker is disturbing to say the least. This version is clearly mentally unstable, but not really aware of it, choosing to see the rest of the world as cruel and troubled. Eventually, this mentality and the abuses that Arthur Fleck suffers causes him to lash out and transform into the Joker, a delusional and crazed clown who just wants to be seen, heard, and shown some amount of kindness. He inspires riots and anarchy in Gotham, fueling the tension between the upper class and lower class in the city until it reaches a breaking point. Even more terrifying is that the film Joker and Phoenix's portrayal of the character persuades you to side with him and makes you question your own morals in the process. Number 7. The Killing Joke. Alan Moore's version of the Joker is iconic, and while the comic has been classified as being non-canon, elements of this version of the Joker and his origin story here seem to still bleed into other comic series and films involving the character. The most frightening thing about this version of the Joker is the promise that he brings with him, that everyone is only one bad day away from being as insane and evil as he is. This version of the Joker is driven coolly and calmly by this belief in a way that is so unnerving it turns your stomach. It's no wonder this iteration of the character receives so many nods. It marries Joker's ruthless determination and insanity beautifully. Number 6. Heath Ledger. Oddly enough, I do feel like the Killing Joke version of the Joker is one that bridges the gap between Ledger's portrayal and Phoenix's version of the character. There are elements of more in both. If Phoenix represents the tragedy, Ledger's version brings to light the level of organization. Both stew in their lunacy, both appear a mess, but Ledger is a very calculated mess. His makeup is almost meticulously disheveled, much like his plans. They seem elaborately messy, but at the core are disturbingly simplistic. This version of the Joker is terrifying because we see less of a man and more of a means to an end. Ledger and Nolan's version is a force of nature. He is anarchy incarnate, here to challenge the status quo and seek to free Gotham from its shackles through chaos. Number 5. Endgame. While the Joker that reappeared in Endgame technically belongs to the main continuity and is not really an alternate, Scott Snyder's newly reintroduced Joker also allowed for the character to become somewhat reinvented. This version of the Joker was reborn without his ties to Batman, making him appear to be far more ruthless than he previously had. Joker finally returned in Endgame in 2014 after being absent for over a year, last seen falling into a pit at the end of Death of the Family in 2012. In this story, Greg Capullo and Scott Snyder instead choose to explore the idea of Joker breaking his bond with Batman, detaching from him and thereby turning extremely dangerous and reckless. This new version of the Joker was responsible for chopping off Alfred's hand, blowing up the Batcave, and for a while was believed to be an immortal being who had been around since the founding of Gotham. Number 4. Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson's version of the Joker, for some reason, gets snubbed on so many of these Joker lists that we do, but we should never forget just how dark his version of the Joker also was. He definitely had some of the campy gleefulness that we saw with Romero's Joker, but was also much more volatile. His mood could change as easily as the wind, launching him into violent tirades, and he had a creepy and unsettling air about him that made viewers of Tim Burton's Batman squirm in their seats. You never knew what Nicholson's Joker was going to do, or how he was going to react, which made him one of the most dangerous because he was just so unpredictable. Number 3. Arkham games. Joker in the Arkham games is set on bringing about the destruction of not just Batman, but all of Gotham City with it. Arkham Asylum is probably my favorite game from the series and sees Joker, voiced again by the famous Mark Hamill here, trapping Batman in Arkham Asylum with all the villains he has helped to capture. It also leads us into the plot of Arkham City, revealing that the Joker has gotten his hands on the powerful drug known as Titan and is planning to use the substance in his notorious plot. You as Batman are forced to fight against all of your foes while also taking on various Joker henchmen in your attempt to save the city, escape the asylum, put a stop to Joker before before it's too late. Number 2. Gaslight Joker. This version of the Joker is a playable champion featured in the Infinite Crisis multiplayer online battle arena game, or MOBA for short. He comes from a Victorian era inspired alternate universe similar to the one in which the Joker from Gotham by Gaslight originates. However, this version of the Joker is more gruesome than the other Victorian Joker we discussed earlier. He was nicknamed as the Laughing Butcher and was known as a deadly serial killer who would chop up his victims into little bits, using them as rat food for the vermin who he kept in his basement, his pets. His appearance and eccentric hairstyle give off slight Sweeney Todd vibes, which is pretty dark actually because Sweeney Todd was based off of a real story, but it was 2 men instead of a man and a lady. Anyways. Number 1. The Dark Knight Returns. One of the darkest iterations of the character comes to us from Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, which tells an alternate tale where an old Batman comes out of retirement, which also prompts Joker, who's been in Arkham Asylum in a catatonic state, to return to his old life of crime. He convinces his doctor he's been cured and breaks free while appearing on a talk show where he's meant to discuss his successful reform. Instead, he kills everyone and starts going on a murderous rampage in an attempt to draw Batman out so he can face his iconic enemy. This is also the story where Joker breaks his own neck simply to frame Batman. Joker might not have any formal superpowers, but his willpower is something else. He is an insanely determined villain. Thank you so much for watching, Nerd Squad. Who are your favorite versions of the Joker? What is your favorite DC Dark Multiverse alternate Earth?
Number 10. Batman/Catwoman. In the future segment of 2020's Batman Catwoman, we see a gray-haired Selina Kyle driving up a sunny coast. Selina pulls up to a trailer park called Seabird Island where she heads into a trailer to meet with an old friend. Now this old retiree is actually the Joker. The two discuss what happened with the Bat family and the Batman, who it's revealed passed away from cancer. This future Joker also seems to have made a family for himself, as weird as that is. He has pictures of his grandkids and talks about his son Nathan, with twin kids, as well as a daughter Bethany, who has 3 kids. After talking about Batman being gone, Joker gets emotional, saying it feels like the end of something. But with Batman gone, Selina reveals that she's come for Joker, finally, because Batman is no longer there to protect him, which is a funny twist on things. Apparently Joker does something in Batman/Catwoman that leads to Batman and Catwoman being scarred for years afterwards. Selina has come to kill Joker at last, and Old Man Joker's response is seemingly a satisfied laugh. Classic. Number 9. Earth 2. Here, Joker is a wheelchair-bound old man in the future after all the main heroes had either passed away or retired. The Earth 2 Joker continued his personal battle against the original Batman successors, Robin and Huntress of this Earth. This Joker kept the war against Wayne going despite the fact that even most of the other villains have died of old age, like the Earth 2 Riddler and Two-Face. But it's hard to fight a war on your own from a wheelchair with failing health. So, he decided to recreate Two-Face by destroying the face of the current District Attorney of Gotham City, Harry Sims. Helena Wayne, Huntress, decided that the Joker just kinda had to go. So teaming up with Kara-El, Helena went out to directly take out the Joker at his base of operations. Joker attacked Helena with his Joy Buzzer, but it backfired against Kara-El's superhuman durability and electrocuted him instead. Technically, this Earth 2 Joker succeeded in getting the heroine to cross the line and kill him, even though she didn't really do it herself, and also she isn't Batman, so it's kind of a hollow victory for the villain. But hey, you did good, Grandpa Joker. Good job. Good. Number 8. Dark Knight Strikes Again. The Dark Knight Strikes Again is the long-awaited sequel to The Dark Knight Returns, and I'll be honest, Frank Miller's art and writing really kind of fell off for this one, just like a little bit. But it does give us a very strange and unique version of the Joker. The Joker in The Dark Knight Strikes Again is not the Joker we saw in The Dark Knight Returns. It's actually Dick Grayson, Batman's previous ward, who, it turns out, was fired by the Bats after he grew frustrated at the boy's ability or inability to do the job properly. I should also let you know that this Batman is kind of a huge jerk, just a little bit. Robin is heartbroken by Batman's rejection and he kind of loses it. He teams up with the likes of Lex Luthor to undergo radical gene therapy that would give him superpowers. The procedure steals the final portion of Grayson's remaining sanity though, sending him on a murder spree in order to track down and get revenge on his old mentor. You can't help but feel just a little bit bad for Dick Grayson. This time working for Bruce mentally scarred him almost as much as the genetic surgery did. Number 7. Last Night on Earth. In Batman Last Night on Earth by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, Batman or actually a clone of Batman created by Batman's own resurrection machine, goes out into a post-apocalyptic world completely rocked thanks to Lex Luthor. One of the first things that this new Batman finds, funnily enough, is a lantern with the head of the Joker somehow still alive inside and speaking. Kind of like in God of War when Kratos gets the head of Mimir that he just carries around on his hip. Batman takes this Joker lantern as a companion, and this talkative Joker keeps the Dark Knight company as he works to find a way to dethrone Omega, who is a villain that rules over the apocalyptic world using Darkseid's Omega effect. This Joker is strangely friendly and compassionate, and he is honestly a great cheerleader for Batman, which I don't think any of us expected to see. What we really didn't expect to see is that this disembodied head is even given a robotic body to become Batman's new Robin. What? And number 6, Batman Digital Justice. Okay, so this one is a little bit different. More than a little bit different, actually. Batman Digital Justice is an alternate future story where the Joker exists as a sentient computer virus and has become the first digital dictator, quote unquote. The virus has access to several weaponized computers and vehicles and uses them to create chaos and havoc in the future Gotham City. He also kind of looks like he's a Nintendo 64 character, which is really entertaining. He has corrupted the Gotham City police who worked with him against the new Batman. GCPD's James Gordon II, who found the Batsuit after Bruce Wayne left it for James's grandfather, the Commissioner Gordon. With the help of an Alfred droid and a Bruce Wayne computer program, this new Batman eventually defeats the Joker virus, but holy, this story is kind of weird. Just a little strange.
Halfway through into number 5, Batman Bloodstorm. At one point, Gotham City was attacked by a group of vampires led by Dracula. However, the vampires were defeated by Batman, who would become part vampire in the struggle. The Joker later lured the surviving vampires out of their underground lair and convinced them to allow him to be their new leader. The vampires accepted, and the Joker appointed a vampire named Creech to be his second in command. The Joker and his new gang then set out to conquer Gotham's underworld. Their first target was Cardona. The vampires ambushed Cardona and his thugs at their hideout, drank their blood, and transformed them into Night Stalkers like themselves. But yeah, you heard that right. The Joker of Earth 43 is Batman's archenemy, and a non-vampire leading a pack of vampires through fear. The ability to lead a group of vampires through fear is absolutely nuts, because like in every incarnation, vampires aren't really afraid of anything, aside from maybe other vampires or like steaks. Like nice medium steaks. That was a bad joke. You know what I mean, right? Like this is, how crazy is this version of the Joker to try to do that? I don't know. Like holy damn, or I guess unholy damn. Let's go on. And at 4, Dark Knight Returns. Like most incarnations, this Joker is a psychopathic mass murderer who is Batman's archenemy. Following Batman's retirement though, he gets confined to Arkham Asylum and falls into a catatonic state. But when Batman returns 10 years later, he comes back as well for a final showdown with the Dark Knight. It's unknown how he knows that he's back, but he just wakes up. The final showdown between the two ends in the Tunnel of Love, in which Joker hysterically stabs Batman in the stomach several times. But mid-stab, Batman instinctively breaks the Joker's neck just enough to paralyze him, but not kill him. Joker encourages Batman to finish him off, but Batman won't do it. So the Joker then finally says, "See you in hell," before, in a last act of revenge against his enemy, twists his own neck just far enough to kill himself, and framing his enemy for his own murder. Isn't that wonderful? That's freaking nuts. Who snaps their own neck to frame a guy? Okay? This is one of the freakiest scenes in all of comics. Like, what the living hell? And at 3, A Serious House. In the world of Arkham Asylum, a serious house on a serious Earth, the inmates of Arkham Asylum have taken over and seized control of the staff. They're willing to release the hostages, but only if their one demand is met. Batman must be turned over to them and become one of their own. Commissioner Gordon informs Batman that the patients of Arkham Asylum have taken over the building and will kill the staff unless Batman agrees to meet with them, and the patients are of course led by the Joker, who kills a guard to spur Batman to obey his wishes. Two-Face meanwhile has degenerated even further into madness, and Batman is forced into a game of hide and seek, and told he has 1 hour to make his way through the maze-like corridors of Arkham and find a way out before his old foes are sent after him. Yep, yeah. The fact that Joker is just leading a whole gang of prisoners who have taken over Arkham is absolutely insane. And then the art style of this comic makes it one of the freakiest depictions of the Joker to date. Like, you've been seeing it. It's nuts. Penultimately, in at number 2, The Batman Who Laughs. The story of Batman of Earth 22 was not much different from that of any other version of the Caped Crusader. When he was a boy, Bruce Wayne watched his parents get murdered in an alley, vowing vengeance against crime. So he trained for years and became the hero Batman, fighting supervillains in Gotham City. Everything went sideways though when Joker started a killing spree across Gotham. The clown had discovered that he was dying from the same chemicals that had turned him into what he was, and wanted to make everyone die with him. He killed all of Batman's enemies, including the Penguin, Catwoman, Killer Croc, the Ventriloquist, a lot. Joker also killed Commissioner Gordon, who accidentally sprung an acid trap on his notebook and it melted his face off. After bombing a hospital and recreating the scene of Bruce's parents killing in front of him multiple times, Batman lost control and broke the Joker's neck. Unbeknownst to Batman though, the Joker exhaled a toxin contained in his heart, which infected anyone close to him if he died. In this case, it was Batman. This caused him to snap and basically become the new Joker, taking over Earth 32 and later on, gaining cosmic power. Yeah, cosmic power. Joker. But also Batman. No thanks. And finally, in at number 1, Death of the Family. When the Joker became obsessed over destroying the Bat family, he decided to arrange for his face to be surgically removed. According to the Joker, he did this to symbolize that even without his mask, he was still the Joker, whereas Batman, Robin, and Batgirl's identities were only mask deep. To see this through, Joker arranged for the serial killer known as the Dollmaker to remove his face surgically in Arkham Asylum. The Dollmaker sent his, son to do the procedure though, only for the Joker to kill him by tearing out his throat with his teeth. Dollmaker later went on to actually remove his face since Joker refused to do it any other way, but the two actually arranged to celebrate his rebirth before leaving the clown's face on the cell wall for Batman to find. Joker would later use straps, clips, and pins to retrofit the flesh back onto his face in a form of mask, which he wore over his now exposed tendons, hiding the way he looked, because honestly that might have been a little too much. Joker would also remain in this mask for the remainder of his plan to destroy the Bat family, a mission which ended in a dinner party in the Batcave. And I think it's fairly obvious why this is number 1. Even without cosmic power, a man getting his face removed only to turn it into a mask to wear it again? No thank you. Not to mention that this is also the face that Joker's daughter ends up wearing, I'm pretty sure. So, no.
In at number 10, Creed Quinn. Also known as Hyena, this version of the Joker first appeared in Legends of the Dark Claw number 1. It was an amalgamation of Sabretooth and the Joker, while also having a name mixing of both Sabretooth, also known as Victor Creed, and Harley Quinn of course. The interesting thing with this version of the Joker is that it was a shared creation of DC Comics and Marvel Comics, which meant that they had the creative freedom to feature combinations of both DC and Marvel characters. The Hyena fights against his nemesis the Dark Claw, aka Logan Wayne, which is just a composite of Batman and Marvel's Wolverine. Hyena, much like Wayne in this comic book, is a mutant with the ability to rapidly heal injuries. The two were both subjects of the Weapon X program, but the program was an attempt to create living weapons, but Hyena used his enhancements to become a psychopathic killer. Typical Joker. In at number 9, Bloodstorm. In the comic book Batman Bloodstorm, the Joker becomes the leader of a group of vampires after the death of their original leader, Dracula. Taking place on Earth 43, he successfully coordinates his efforts to take control of Gotham's major crime families. Later on, the vampire version of Batman would team up with a werewolf combo of Selina Kyle. Unfortunately, Selina Kyle is killed in the final battle by Joker's vampires, but what's worse is that her death causes Batman to succumb to his own lust for blood. This version of the Joker, in my opinion, not only has kept true to the original, but added a unique twist, making him much cooler. Following Batman fighting his lust for blood, he ultimately gives in, biting the Joker and thus falling victim to his master plan. Now Batman is left tormented by the knowledge that the Joker won their long conflict by driving him to kill. So not only is he damned by Dracula's bite and the Joker's blood now in equal measure, but he also must finally surrender to his vampire side. In at number 8, Suicide Squad.
Oh, I'm not gonna kill you. I'm just gonna hurt you. Really, really bad.
Back in 2016, Suicide Squad brought a version of the Joker to the big screen that was more than visually memorable. Jared Leto's pale skin, chrome teeth, and infinite Joker-related tattoos are striking at first but fit in this modern era. Unfortunately, many found the movie hard to watch as this Joker didn't resemble any of the predecessors, which were some big shoes to fill already. That being said, I wish that Jared Leto had gotten more screen time with the character. This new age remodeling is actually a great idea for the Joker. Too much of the same thing has never been good, even when it comes to the villains in our hero's journey. journey. Hopefully someone can reprise this role in the future with more of an actual story behind it. As I said, all of that aside, you gotta admit that the first glances of the costume for this Joker were incredible. Death of the family. Scott Snyder had bold ambitions on creating a new Joker, one that was more fitting for modern times. To do so, he took the classic structure of the Joker and just cranked it up to 11, and man oh man was it ever cool. In the Death of the Family comic book, he actually fooled Batman into thinking that he had skinned his friends and forced them to eat their own faces. Plus, while doing so, the Joker appeared wearing his own severed face as a mask. At the dinner table in the Batcave, the Joker had Batgirl, Nightwing, Red Robin, Red Hood, and Damian Wayne all tied up around the table staring at their own severed faces on a dinner plate. It all turned out to be a cruel joke, but that did not take away from the psychological damage that had been done. Scott Snyder set out to create a terrifying modern take on this villain, and both in style and storylines he accomplished that goal. In at number 6, Injustice: Gods Among Us. Injustice: Gods Among Us was a fantastic video game that ended up inspiring its very own comic book series, which also did swimmingly. That's the word of the day. It also did swimmingly well. Use that word in a sentence down below, and the funniest one gets a feature next time. Now back to cool Jokers. Just like the video game, we entered a world where Superman and the Justice League are pretty much running things. Now, as you can imagine, this didn't sit well for the villains of the world, and leave it to the Joker to be the one who mentally breaks Superman. This version of the Joker had stolen the Scarecrow's fear gas and laced it with some kryptonite in order to trick Superman into thinking that he was fighting his nemesis Doomsday. However, once killing the supposed Doomsday, it was revealed, spoiler alert, that he actually killed his pregnant wife Lois Lane. The Joker didn't stop there though, he also stole a submarine, and when Lois was killed, it triggered a bomb to go off in Metropolis. Even when the Joker was killed by Superman, it still proved him right. Most Joker characters run with this theory of something similar, that even the most stable people could go insane after just one really bad day. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was one really bad day for Superman.
Though he had failed to elevate the Joker clan's status, Joker was convinced a similar organization could be successful in his dimension.
Okay, number 5. This is a weird one. In this storyline, a version of Joker is set out to kill an evil version of Batman, who was created by an evil Joker in a big battle, but that's not the Joker we're talking about. In this unorthodox story of good versus evil, this evil Batman, known as the Bruce, basically has this religious event called the Night of Blood, where he challenges anyone to try and kill him to take on the new role of Batman. And a guy named Joe Collins, who's the leader of a resistance against the Bruce, is brainwashed and becomes the new Joker. Stay with me. So this version of the Joker is heroic because he wants to take down the evil Batman. But what really brings home the heroic aspect to this version of Joker is when he finds Bruce Wayne's Batman costume and sets out, dressed as Batman, to defeat evil Batman. So it becomes Batman under the influence of an evil Joker facing off against a good Joker posing as Batman. I told you it was strange. Number 4, we've got the Joker from Superman: Distant Fires. In this universe, a nuclear holocaust has killed off most of the population of Earth, killing many superheroes and supervillains, leaving any survivors without superpowers. One of the sole survivors is Clark Kent, who eventually finds a jungle refuge where a few others have survived, including Wonder Woman, a one-legged Flash, and Joker. What's interesting about this version of the Joker is that the nuclear holocaust was so devastating that it rendered him sane. That and the fact that he'd gone years without Bruce Wayne as his nemesis after Bruce was killed in the nuclear event. I guess in a universe without any good, the evil finds a way to balance itself out. Either way, I think this storyline gets the point across. A nuclear holocaust would be so bad that it would turn Joker good. So let's avoid that. At number 3, we have the Joker from Batman R.I.P. This Joker is not quite as cut and dry heroic as the others so far on this list, but he definitely deserves a spot on the list nonetheless. With the threat of criminal organization the Black Glove looming, the Joker and Batman have a private meeting where the Joker actually warns Batman of the Black Glove's intentions of killing Wayne. What makes this Joker heroic isn't that he's no longer a threat to Batman, but instead that he finds himself with a common enemy to Bruce Wayne. When a member of the Black Glove approaches the Joker to join them, he decides to kill them instead. And not only this, but he places a bet in that moment that Batman will actually rise up and destroy the criminal organization. Although after this, Joker is sort of back to his usual shenanigans as a side threat in this storyline. But for that time being, he was actually helping Batman. Alright, we're almost there. At number 2, we've got another one of these situations where Batman and Joker find themselves with a common enemy, the Batman who laughs. Sort of a self-explanatory name, really. This evil version of Batman, sort of a Batman-Joker hybrid, comes from the Dark Multiverse and appears in Dark Knight's Metal. When this evil Batman comes from another dimension, he brings with him the philosophy that Batman's approach is too soft and won't be enough to stop crime altogether. So what does he do? Yep, he gets carried away and kills people, which is something Batman can't stand for, of course. But with this Batman who laughs being so unpredictable and volatile, he's proving to be a worthy foe to Batman, who has to approach the Joker for help in taking him down. The Joker's help proves to be worthwhile because since his own actions are equally unpredictable and volatile, he's also able to successfully take down the Batman who laughs, solidifying heroic status, at least for that moment in time. Once again, I'm pretty sure the next day he woke up and chose violence against Gotham again, but that's just him, right? Unpredictable. Okay, finally number 1. The spot at the top of our list goes to the Joker from White Knight. Known as Jack Napier in this storyline, this version of the Joker belongs at the top of our list because he has fully gained sanity and reformed into a functioning part of society. What caused this is suggested to have been a controversial run-in with Batman, who beats the Joker up so badly that witnesses start to think Batman might have gone too far. On top of beating him up, he also force feeds him a full bottle of pills that the Joker had pulled out himself. Gotham becomes divided on whether or not Batman had acted out of character, and after Jack Napier recovers from his injuries, his intellect is at an all-time high, and it appears as though he's completely changed for the better, possibly because of the pills. Jack even goes as far as giving a heroic speech saying Gotham deserves more than the Joker, and makes moves to actually indict the Gotham police force for conspiring with Batman, someone Jack now sees as a threat to functioning society. Whether you think the Joker deserves redemption or not, this interpretation of the Joker is the biggest departure from the original villainous Joker that we normally see. His clean look, his reputable character, takes the character and ultimately does a great job of making us stop and think what it is that makes the original Joker what he is.
Number 10. Cesar Romero. Cesar Romero played the Joker in the 1960s Batman live-action show. While many don't think of his Joker first when it comes to what we consider to be the darkest version, he definitely couldn't be considered one of the most heroic or lightest versions either. Joker in the 60s show was known, like many of the other characters, for his campiness and additionally for his flamboyance. And yet the amount of joy causing harm to others and the glee he exhibited whilst committing crimes and straight up killing people is disturbing in and of itself, especially considering that Romero's version of the Joker seemed to be one of the most sane. So he was fairly level-headed, but just super happy to be out and committing crimes and harming people. Like some funny games level of wincing horror. Ooh. Number 9. Batman the Animated Series. This is where Mark Hamill first got his start when it came to portraying this villain. His work as Joker in Batman TAS would end up being so well received that it would lock him into voicing the character in various series, video games, and animated films for years afterward. This version of the character was a combination of the Silver and Bronze Age Joker and was known for being a somewhat two-sided combination of deadly fun and dangerously serious. He often attacked his nervous or unsuspecting victims with a catalog of prank-inspired weapons, including flowers that sprayed acid. Ouch. Number 8. Jared Leto. Jared Leto's Joker was dark in more ways than one, but one of the darkest things about his depiction of the character was Leto's method approach to getting into character, which saw him sending dead animals to other members of the cast on the set of Suicide Squad, in an attempt to tap into Joker's twisted psyche. Despite the fact that we apparently didn't see nearly as much of Jared Leto's performance as was shot, I always felt that his interpretation of the character reminded me of another, darker version of the Joker, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more right now. Number 7. Johnny Frost's Boss. Johnny Frost is the sort of narrator that we follow in the Brian Azzarello and Lee Bermejo graphic novel entitled Joker. The story was set outside of DC's main continuity and got a potential sequel with the miniseries Batman Damned, which is implied to be connected and potentially set in the same world and is also by Azzarello and Bermejo. In the 2008 graphic novel Joker, we follow Johnny Frost, a criminal goon who ends up becoming Joker's preferred driver. He learns through experience of just how dangerous the Joker can be, to both those those who cross him, and even those who Frost would have thought is Joker's allies. This is the story where Joker and Harley skin the owner of a strip club and then attempt to make him dance. The Joker himself kills multiple people throughout the story, and Frost is implied to be turned insane by the experience of simply working for the Joker, which makes sense, I think. Number 6. Gotham by Gaslight. The story of Gotham by Gaslight provides a Victorian-inspired horror version of a Batman story where it is believed that Batman is responsible for a series of crimes that we later learn were connected to London's Jack the Ripper. The Joker is the only name we are given for a criminal who was notorious for marrying wealthy elderly ladies and poisoning them in order to inherit and steal their fortunes. While the Joker didn't have a big role in the story and is really only mentioned in passing, he is a frightening character as he is likely inspired by many other cases of the time where we now know of real-life criminals who preyed on people in such a way, with some of the more well-known murderers of this kind being thought responsible for a murder count well into the double digits. It's true, it's history. Number 5. Judge Joker. In the Judge Dredd Batman crossover issues called Die Laughing Parts 1 and 2, we get to imagine what Joker would be like as a dark judge. He finds himself transported to Mega City. There he meets Judge Death, who imbues him with powers. This frightening version of the villain was gifted with immortality and the ability to cause people's heads to explode with a mere laugh, making him even more deadly. While he ended up losing the powers in the end after returning to Gotham and finding himself once again in Arkham Asylum, this two-parter proved that whether you're in Mega City or in Gotham, Joker would never be a person that you would want to run into. If you aren't familiar with these crossovers, you should actually check some of them out. This one story in particular has gorgeous artwork provided by Glenn Fabry and Jim Murray. It's worth a look for the art alone. Number 4. 2008 Joker. This version of the Joker may have actually been inspired by Heath Ledger's performance. There are certainly some similarities in the style of the Joker being an almost menacing gangster with anarchist tendencies. Plus he kinda looks like Heath Ledger's Joker as well. The graphic novel is told from the perspective of Johnny Frost, a man who is tasked with picking up the Joker from Arkham Asylum on the day of his release. Who released the Joker? I don't know. Seems like a bad idea, but anyways. The Joker immediately takes to Johnny, who chauffeurs him around and escorts the Joker as he runs around wreaking all kinds of havoc, seeking revenge on those in Gotham that he feels betrayed him during his incarceration. One such person they pay a visit to is Monty, the owner of a strip club that the Joker has skinned and made to perform. Harvey Dent warns Johnny that getting him with the Joker is dangerous and that he'll likely end up dead, but Frost doesn't listen. Later, it turns out Dent was right. Frost's wife ends up getting rescued by the Joker and the gang, only to get raped by the Joker as payback for a slight of Johnny's. In the end, Joker ends up blowing off Johnny's jaw during a standoff with Batman, and Johnny kills himself by throwing himself off of a bridge, as Joker and Batman finally come to blows. Number 3. Emperor Joker. One of the most scary versions of Joker because of all the things he can do. This version of Joker was granted 1% of Mr. Mxyzptlk's power, but tricked Mr. Mxyz into giving him 99.99% of it instead. As such, he saw Superman imprisoned daily in Arkham, ate the entire population of China, and killed Batman daily. Number 2. Sinestro / Joe Chill. Earth 32 has its own Joker-inspired character. In the one-shot Batman story in Darkest Night, Bruce becomes a Green Lantern and is sent to stop Sinestro's evil deeds. Sinestro seeks revenge on Bruce for bringing him to justice, and as such trades in his Green Lantern ring for a Yellow Lantern ring. He finds the killer of Bruce's parents, Joe Chill, and absorbs his mind. When Bruce catches up with Sinestro later, it is clear that the two minds coexisting within himself have driven Sinestro mad. This alternate Joker-inspired character successfully kills Commissioner Gordon and Alfred, and ends up gaining influence over Harvey Dent and Selina Kyle, whom he tasks with attempting to kill Bruce Wayne. Number 1. Death of the Family. Probably the most twisted of them all has been one of the more recent reinventions of Joker, No-Face Joker. Joker found himself feeling reborn after he had the doll maker remove his face. He also had the doll maker make him a royal tapestry out of a bunch of living humans who are sewn together. There was definitely someone involved in that bit of writing who watched too much Human Centipede, methinks. This version of Joker is also the cruelest version and most deranged version we've probably seen. He is borderline in love with Batman in the creepiest of ways, tortures the Bat family, and threatens to fix Harley by cutting off her face too. He also just looks like a villain out of a slasher flick.
In at 10, Hyena. Hyena, first introduced in Legends of the Dark Claw #1 from 1996, is a combination of DC's The Joker and Marvel's Sabretooth. He is the archenemy of Dark Claw, Darklaw, a combination of DC's Batman and Marvel's Wolverine. His real name is Creed Harley Quinn. The Canadian government initiated the Weapon X project. Logan and Quinn of the RCAF were both accepted as candidates for the project, along with 4 other volunteers. Logan's latent metamutant healing factor kicks in, which allows him to survive the adamantium crafting process, and Creed survives as well, but becomes a remorseless killing machine, exactly what the project was hoping for. Creed's sanity does not fare as well, and he eventually goes rogue, because of course he's going to. And Indestructible, known as adamantium, was also bonded to Creed's skeleton as well as Logan's, and he was given claws made of the same substance. Unlike Darklaw, however, Creed was physically deformed as a result of the experiment and went insane. Project X also triggered metamutant abilities in Creed, who became known as Hyena. Hyena, also known as the Cackling Canine, will not stop his maniacal grinning until his arch-nemesis Darklaw is destroyed. He also has a gang called the Pack, which is actually kinda cute, but still terrifying. And at 9, Martha Wayne. When Barry Allen altered the timeline so that his mother lived, a lot changed, along with Martha Wayne. She had initially been the mother to Bruce Wayne, who would have become Batman when she was killed in the alleyway by Joe Chill, but Barry's mom surviving somehow resulted in her and her husband, Thomas Wayne, surviving Joe Chill's fateful ambush, but their son dying as a result. Butterfly effect, I guess. This ultimately broke her, driving her completely insane from grief and having her adopt the identity of the Joker, as well as committing various crimes in Gotham, also resulting in Thomas becoming a vigilante known as Batman in an attempt to stop her. By the time of the Flashpoint saga, she had kidnapped the twin sons of Harvey Dent without leaving a ransom note, and then, at her hideout in Wayne Manor, manipulated Commissioner Gordon into shooting the daughter by dressing her up in a Joker outfit, and then murdered the Commissioner. Eventually, Batman arrived, and she had proceeded to bludgeon her former husband with a hammer, an action that Batman willingly endured for a chance at getting a glimpse of the remaining psyche of his former wife. Ultimately, he managed to temporarily get through to her and revealed that they may have a chance of actually undoing the events that happened, although it may result in her deaths. She accepted though, because she wanted her son to live, but apparently not become Batman. And at 8, Suicide Squad. The Joker is an infamously extreme and formidable psychopathic crime lord in Gotham City in this movie, being at the very top of the city's criminal underworld, greatly feared by all those other crime bosses and criminals. Though he is devoid of empathy or pity for anybody taking part in his wicked schemes, either by intimidation or fraud, the Joker used to adore his on-again, off-again girlfriend and partner in crime Harley Quinn, doing his utmost to rescue her from Task Force X and the clutches of Amanda Waller, with eventual success. I mean, like, he was in the movie for like 5 minutes total, but like, it's better than nothing, right? For unknown reasons though, he later broke up with Harley, leaving her on her own and the target of many of his enemies. This version from the DCEU was certainly a darker and more brutal Joker than what we've been seeing in the comics now, not relying on Batman and being more willing to kill like he was in the golden age of comics, much along the lines of the 3 Joker revelation from the Mobius chair, since this version also killed Robin in the DCEU prior to the events of the movie. However, some also believe that the Joker is a mentally unstable version of Robin, which could be revealed to be true, but I don't know if they're actually going to reveal it and just let it be a theory. And yes, I was doing this to show the mask multiple times. And at 7, Emperor Joker. Emperor Joker was the form the Joker took after tricking Mr. Mxyzptlk into donating 99.99% of his powers to the Joker. He gave him 99.99% of his powers accidentally. As a direct result, he became near omnipotent and created a hellish world in his own image. At some point, the imp from the 5th dimension, Mr. Mxyzptlk, attempted to see what a member of the regular realm would do with his power and selected the Joker. He intended on only donating 1% of his power to the Joker, but the Mad Clown tricked him into revealing his true name and thus ended up gaining 99.99% of the powers, and proceeded to transform existence within 69 seconds. Nice. Into a realm made in his own image, which was a twisted caricature, and with everyone stuck in a loop. Emperor Joker continually tortured and killed Batman every single day, only to bring him back to life and do it all over again. As could be expected, Emperor Joker took pride in these particular killings due to the unique relationship the 2 characters continued to share. Although this relationship is also the Joker's undoing, since he was still defined by being the Batman's antagonist, and he was beaten by a dog of all things. Okay, well, it was Superman as a dog, but still. Joker with near absolute power? no thanks. And at 6, Batman Two-Faces. Batman Two-Faces is the DC equivalent to the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde story, where ironically, Harvey Dent, also known as Two-Face, isn't the one with the Hyde affliction, but rather Batman himself is. It's the year 1886. Bruce Wayne is organizing a gala to exhibit the Twilight Orchid, a rare flower with unique characteristics. During the day, the flower is exquisitely colored and perfumed and attracts a large amount of insects. At night, however, it turns into a weed, attracting only pests. I know a few people like that. Miss Pamela Isley, Bruce Wayne, Commissioner Gordon, and many of Gotham's finest attend the gala where Two-Face storms in and steals the flower. Bruce reveals that he had hoped to actually create a potion derived from the flower, which was retrieved from Miss Isley's dead hands. A potion which would cure Two-Face from his dual personality. Finalizing the potion, Bruce tests it on himself. He suddenly develops superhuman strength, agility, and a new sense of courage and purpose. He puts together a costume and sets off to battle crime on Two-Face's terms. However, this potion didn't only give him powers, it gave him another personality. The personality of the Joker. Yeah, that's right. In Batman Two-Faces, Bruce Wayne is the Joker, which is pretty frightening for sure.
Number 5. Killing Joke. This version and Joker story will always have a place in comic book history as being one of the most controversial. But besides that, it also gives us a very dark alternate version of the Joker, and a much sadder version. It paints the picture of Joker as a man who leaves his job at a chemical plant to pursue a career as a stand-up comedian. Unfortunately, no one really finds him very funny, save for his pregnant wife, who insists that he always manages to make her smile. Aww. Low on cash, he agrees to help some criminals with a robbery, guiding them through the chemical plant that he used to work for. After finding out his wife and baby, however, have perished, he is forced to go through with the plan anyway and ends up falling into a vat of chemicals. While of course not an official origin story for the Joker, it is a very dark origin that helps to explain the Joker's madness, and even somehow makes you feel sympathy for the character that in the same book paralyzes Barbara Gordon and tortures her father, Commissioner Gordon. Number 4. Injustice Joker. While Injustice Joker may not have survived very long, he was one of the most brutal and dark because, like some of Joker's other alternates, he was willing to trade his life just to see his plan come to fruition. And come to fruition, it did. Joker was successful in driving Superman to his breaking point, causing him to kill the Joker and turn into a villain himself. One of the best ways, of course, to turn Superman into a villain is to take out all of the people who keep him the most human, such as his pal Jimmy Olsen and of course Lois Lane. In doing this, although the Joker died, he won. Because of this incident and of course Metropolis being blown up, Superman feels he has no choice but to take hold of the world in order to protect Earth, along the way losing even more of his humanity and becoming himself sort of a paranoid dictator. Number 3. Martha Wayne. In Flashpoint, we get to visit an alternate timeline where Bruce was the one who died, not his parents. They are forced to live with the loss of their son, which inspired Thomas Wayne to take up the mantle as Batman, but drives his wife Martha insane. She ends up becoming the Joker after Thomas Wayne's Batman goes to take care of the criminal responsible for murdering his son. He tells Martha that he too misses Bruce, and he also misses her smile. When he returns after pummeling the criminal Joe Chill to death with his bare hands, he finds out that Martha has given herself a Glasgow smile. Yee. Number 2. The Batman Who Laughs. Batman Who Laughs is of course more considered an alternate version of Bruce Wayne than of the Joker, but in truth, he's kind of an amalgam of both. Breathing in the Joker's venom that exudes from his corpse after Batman kills him is what causes Bruce to become the Batman Who Laughs. In a sense, Joker, although dead, lives on within him, twisting his mind into something closer to the Joker's than to Bruce's. Although this character just goes to show how close these two characters really could be when it comes to their potential for evil. So wait, would that make Batman kind of an alternate version of Joker himself, and vice versa? Does that mean that Joker's an alternate version of Batman? Batman's an alternate version of Joker. Huh. Number 1. Earth -22 Joker. Why is it that all the darkest iterations of Joker have to die? Well, because, you know, something is about to go horribly wrong when you allow the Joker to die. One of the darkest versions of the Joker to date appeared in the origin story for the Batman Who Laughs. We find out the Batman Who Laughs became who he was because of this Joker, the Joker of Earth -22. Knowing he was going to die soon, finally being poisoned to death by the toxin which had made him who he was, he planned to go out with a bang. This meant taking down all of Batman's former foes, proving that he himself was the ultimate foe, and torturing Batman by orphaning a bunch of children in front of him before exposing the kids to the Joker venom. venom, driving them insane. In doing so, this Joker brought about the most evil creation. Batman snapped and killed the Joker, releasing the very venom that would transform him into the terrifying Batman who laughs. And yet Joker got the last laugh there, I think.